His story begins with us watching an American football game. In the VIP stands, a man named Nicky was sitting comfortably with his girlfriend, Jess. The match was underway, but Nicky's attention was more on the crowd than the game. He saw a beautiful girl getting up from her seat and leaving, and right at that moment, a mischievous idea struck his mind. He made a small bet with Jess to see how many people would turn around to look at that girl. A man sitting nearby, Luayan, said he wanted to join the bet, which Nicky agreed to. Everyone jokingly bet $10 and the counting began. When the girl stepped out of the stands, the final count was that 7 people had turned around to look at her. Jess had guessed the closest number, so she won the bet. Luayan paid the money without hesitation and asked to start the next round. The escalating bets. This time, the bet was about who would commit the next foul. Jess backed out, saying she had no knowledge of the game. But Nicky jumped into the bet and wagered $1,000. As the whistle blew, the referee signaled a foul, and the team Nicky had bet on turned out to be the correct one. He won the bet and put the money in his pocket. Even after losing, Luayan became more excited. He said, "Let's bet $5,000 this time." The question this time was, would the player pass the ball or run with it? Nicky was a little hesitant to risk $5,000, but he eventually agreed. Luayan guessed they would run, and Nicky said they would pass. As the whistle blew, the player actually ran with the ball. Causing Nicky to lose $5,000, Nicky decided, it's okay. "We lost $5,000, let's stop now," and asked Jess to go for coffee. But Luayan insisted. He said, "You're sitting in a VIP lounge. You have money. What's $5,000? Play one more round, this time for $10,000. Nicky finally agreed. The question was whether the next pass would be completed successfully or not. Nicky predicted that the pass would be successful. However, the opposing team intercepted the pass. Nicky had now lost $15,000. The spiral of losses as he took out the money. Nicky looked troubled. He thought for a moment and said, "All right, let's bet $500 this time." Jess was shocked, but Nicky looked angry. Luck was not on his side. He lost the next bet again and had to hand over another $500. Jess immediately told him to stop, but his anger and ego got the better of Nicky. Without thinking, he placed the next bet, $100,000. Luayan mocked him, saying, "Do you even have that much money?" Without saying much, Nicky threw a whole bundle of cash onto the table. This excited Luayan even more. Nicky bet that the next pass would be intercepted and wouldn't be completed. But this time the pass was successful. Nicky had now suffered a loss of hundreds of thousands of dollars. He was at a loss for how to get out of this mess. Jess was also very stunned by his behavior. But now the game had reached a very intense level. Nicky said, "I have $1 million left. Let's bet it all. Let's see who wins." This time the decision would be made with playing cards. Luayan was winning continuously, so he was ecstatic. He started seeing Nicky as an ATM machine. Luayan drew his card, which was a 5. Nicky just needed to draw a card higher than a 5. The chances of winning were quite high. Nicky picked up a card and confidently flipped it. But it turned out to be a 3. Seeing this, Jess immediately fell off her chair. When Nicky started the game, his mood was only to bet $4,000. But so far, he had lost over $1 million, about Rs 9 crore. The grand comeback after this humiliating defeat, he had nothing left to say. He quietly took Jess's hand and started leading her out. His heart was very heavy, but Luayan continued to taunt him. He said, "That's what you get, son, for playing with the master." Nicky stopped and made one more bet, $1 million, and the idea was a little new. Nicky challenged Luayan to choose any random player with binoculars, and if Nicky could guess his jersey number correctly, the win was his. Luayan was a bit confused by this. He said, "This is like reading minds." He felt like Nicky was shooting himself in the foot. He also had a slight suspicion that Nicky might be cheating. To clear his doubt, Nicky said, "I won't even guess. Jess will guess this time." Jess looked at Nicky with anger. She couldn't understand what was going on. What were the chances that she would say the jersey number of the exact person Luoyan chose among so many people? Saying this, she started to leave, but Luoyan's security guard stopped her, and a small scuffle ensued. Jess calmed herself down. Nikki told her, "Just look around the ground and say the number that feels familiar to you." Luoyan picked up the binoculars and chose a player. Then Jess took the binoculars and scanned the entire field. Everywhere she looked, she saw jersey numbers. How could she guess? Then her eyes fell on a familiar face and she remembered Nikki's words. Choose the number that feels familiar to you. Their friend, Farhad, was there wearing jersey number 55. Jess understood that this was all part of Nikki's plan. She said number 55 and it was the correct answer. Luoyan was stunned by her answer. Jess also paused for a moment, wondering how Nikki knew in advance that Luoyan would select that number. But at this moment, none of that mattered. They had won the bet. They made a profit of $1 million and got all the lost money back as well. They left the stadium carrying 2 large cash-filled bags. The number 55 plan revealed in the car. Nikki told Jess that it was all part of their plan. They had been tracking Luoyan for quite some time. In fact, Luoyan was known in high society for his bad gambling habit. He would jump into any bet someone placed in front of him. Nikki's team had devised this whole plan. As soon as Luoyan stepped out of his hotel room, the number 55 was put into his subconscious. Bind out the label pin on the security guard's uniform also had 55 written on. Signboards on the way to the stadium also showed the same number, and they didn't just show him this number. They also made him hear it. While coming to watch the match, they played a song in Luoyan's car that repeatedly hinted at the number 55. In that song, a sound similar to 55 came out 124 times. As a result, Luoyan's mind was repeatedly drawn towards that number. He was also shown a photo of Farhad, which became a visual memory. When he was looking through the binoculars, his mind naturally went to number 55, and upon seeing Farhad, Jess said 55. Jess was not told anything in advance so that her expressions throughout the game would be completely genuine, ensuring no one suspected them. Hearing all this, Jess was completely impressed with Nikki and Jess's past. The story then goes back a few days. Just a few days ago, Nikki was in a room on a bed, and a man was holding a gun to his head. Jess was sitting nearby. He had only met her a few days earlier. It was clear that Nikki had been trapped by someone, but there was no sign of fear on his face. He flatly stated, "I don't have a single penny. If you want to shoot, shoot." The man with the gun understood his reactions and immediately recognized that this man was a player, a bigger con artist than them. And his guess was absolutely correct. Nikki is an excellent con artist who commits petty thefts, and with great skill. It was Jess who had lured him into this room. He saw a natural talent in Jess. Jess didn't understand anything at that time anyway. When the gunman left, Nikki told Jess, "You have a gift, and if you hone this power to con people, you can live comfortably your whole life." Nikki said, "It's our family business. My father, his father, all were con artists. He is a hereditary con man. Every trick, every move was a game to him." Jess wasted no time, took out some money and said, "I want to learn from you." Nikki also felt no need to waste time. Even as he was leaving, Nikki had stolen one of Jess's rings and she didn't even realize it. By the time Jess understood what had happened, her watch was also missing. And when she put the watch in her handbag, Nikki had already taken her wallet. After all these feats, Nikki said, "Sleight of hand, timing, and a little style, that's all it takes in this line of work." That day, Nikki only said goodbye to her. The training and the crew a few months later, Jess tracked him down in the city of New Orleans. Nikki had started to form a new team there. Their meeting was actually a test. He wanted to see if Jess was worthy of joining their team. When Jess agreed, Nikki sent her to the fair with a man from the team. Today was Jess's first practical assignment. She began asking people for directions with a map in her hand. Suddenly, her partner quietly stole a tourist's camera lens. Then, another partner deliberately bumped into a man and Jess stole his wallet. Jess began to feel confident in her stealing style. She used chopsticks to take a wallet from another woman's bag, and everything was so smooth that no one suspected anything. Nikki was watching all this from the top of a building. He told the team, "Leave her alone. Now it's her turn to fly." Jess started stealing one expensive item after another, and with every theft, Nikki's respect for her grew. The grand heist now Nikki sent her on an even bigger assignment. This time it was a high-tech fraud. Using special lenses, they could see other people's cards and easily defeat their opponents. A credit card stealing system was also in operation there. The card would be stolen and secretly passed to a teammate, where a device would copy its data, and then the card would be returned to the person's pocket. By the time anyone realized anything, the entire account would be empty. Another con was a fake ATM machine. Whenever someone withdrew money from the ATM, the machine would automatically store their PIN. Farhad would quietly remove the machine and take all the data. All the credit cards would be placed into different categories, and luxury items would be purchased with them. Finally, their data would be sold on the black market. One day, Jess saw a beautiful necklace and put it on. But Nikki said, "Take it off immediately." He sternly explained that all items had to be sold. Nothing should be personal to us. It was the first time Jess had seen fraud on such a large scale. Standing amidst a mountain of stolen goods was a different feeling altogether. The distraction scam and the 1.2 million. The next day, Jess and Farhad were walking in a wealthy neighborhood. Their job was to act. Farhad pretended to faint, and Jess started screaming and acting. "Please, someone help us, please." This was a form of distraction that the rest of the team took advantage of by stealing belongings from the wealthy people nearby. Then the entire team hid in an ambulance and drove away. Everything was so well planned that no one understood a thing. That night, they all celebrated together. Nikki praised everyone because they had earned $1.2 million in just 1 week. The next day, all the team members were going their separate ways. All documents were destroyed, and everyone was assured that their money would arrive in their bank accounts within a few days. But the old members knew that Nikki still had one last mission. They gave him the $1.2 million in cash, and even gave Jess a warning not to gamble it away. The heartbreak the next morning, Nikki took Jess to the stadium's VIP lounge. He put on the whole spectacle in front of Jess, showing her how they could earn $1 million in just a few minutes. Jess was starting to fall a little in love with Nikki by then. She felt that she was Nikki's girlfriend, and that was why he was showing her all this. But from the beginning, Nikki had only included her in his group for the con. When everything was over, Nikki gave her $80 in cash and finally said, "Goodbye." Jess looked at him, tears in her eyes. Her heart was broken. On one hand, she had genuinely fallen in love with Nikki. On the other hand, she also felt that $80 was too little, especially since Nikki had just earned $1 million. But there was no place for emotions in Nikki's world, and Jess had now seen his true colors. The grand race scam about 3 years later. We see a race car entering a service station, and soon we see Nikki there too. There was tiredness in his eyes, and it was clear from his face that he was running out of money. During lunch, he had a meeting with Garia, the owner of a race car team. Garia's research team had developed a new algorithm called EXR, but they wanted to improve this algorithm and increase their chances of winning even further. For this, they hired Nikki. The plan was simple. Nikki would pretend to be their chief engineer. Then, they would stage a fight between him and Garia so that rival teams would fall into their trap. After that, Nikki would sell a fake version of EXR to the rival team, while Garia's team would use the real system, ensuring their victory. According to the deal, Nikki was to receive €1 million for this work, and the profit from selling the fake system would also be his. Nikki considered this job a joke. He could do such a simple scam in his sleep. The unexpected twist. However, Garia's butler did not trust him at all. He straight up threatened Nikki, saying, "If you mess up, the bullet will go straight through your chest." Nikki put on a tuxedo and headed out to attend a party that evening. Their plan was to stage their argument amidst the crowd, but their plan fell apart when Jess entered, walking down the stairs in a red dress, and went straight to hug Garia. Nikki's head spun at the sight. He hadn't seen Jess in 3 years, and now she was with someone else, and that too with the man who had hired Nikki. Jess calmly approached Nikki and said, "I'm not a con artist anymore, and whatever happened 3 years ago means nothing now." She also said that Garia didn't know about the past relationship between her and Nikki and advised him to keep it a secret. Hearing all this made Nikki's blood boil. He picked up a glass of vodka and emptied it in one go. Earlier, he needed to act like he was fighting. Now he was genuinely filled with rage towards Garia, and he had a massive public argument. This drama was exactly what the rival racing team liked. Soon, security threw him out of the party. But he now had the business card of the rival team in his hand. The $3 million deal. The next morning, Nicky met the owner of the McLaren team. He got straight to the point. €3 million, I want to sell you the EXR system. The race car owner had no shortage of money, so there was no need for negotiation. They immediately tested the track, and the owner's face lit up with the result. Nicky assured them that the complete software would be delivered in 48 hours. A soft spot. Meanwhile, Jess met Farhad on the street. Nicky had sent Farhad. He told Jess that Nicky's leaving 3 years ago was necessary. They had no choice. He said that Nicky still loved Jess. Farhad gave Jess a box containing the necklace that Jess had liked. There was no guarantee that it was real or fake, but that didn't matter. Seeing that necklace melted Jess's heart. Jess said that she couldn't trust Nicky, but her eyes conveyed something else. She still felt something for him. The double cross anyway, the deal day soon arrived, and Nicky gave the software to the McLaren team owner. In return, a burly man handed him €3 million. But Nicky's nature was such that he never worked without risk. He secretly sold a copy of the software to all the racing teams. Every handshake brought new euros. He took millions of dollars from everyone he shook hands with. Until the race began, no one knew that everyone had the same system. That night, instead of running away, Nicky messaged Jess. If she arrived in time, they could run away together. Nicky waited, but no one came. At the last moment, just as he gave up and was about to leave, Jess arrived. But it wasn't time to run, because at that very moment, the same burly man who had given him the €3 million on behalf of the McLaren team appeared before Nicky. In fact, he was Garia's man. He had now discovered the truth, that Nicky had sold the real software, not the fake one. He wasn't interested in Garia's €1 million. He now put on his full gear and deliberately crashed into Nicky's car. The interrogation, Nicky and Jess were caught after a fatal accident. After tying them up, all the cash was placed in front of Garia. Garia was furious at Nicky's actions. He had spent €40 million developing this program, and now it was all ruined. Most importantly, Garia could not understand how Nicky had stolen the real software. When Nicky didn't say anything, Garia pinched Jess's nose, causing her to stop breathing. Nicky was broken by this sight. He confessed everything. He had rekindled Jess's old love for him and made her wear a necklace that had a special chip inside it. As soon as Garia opened the software, Nicky stole his password and data through the necklace. Hearing this, Jess's heart broke. Tears welled up in her eyes, but Garia and his men started laughing. They liked the story, but they didn't believe Nicky's claim. Garia revealed that Jess wasn't his girlfriend. "I know she was with me for the money," he said. Jess also confessed that she only wanted to steal his expensive watch collection. Nicky was shocked that Jess had faked being in love with Garia, just to make him jealous. The butler's big secret now, both of them were caught. Garia didn't waste much time. He asked the butler how Nicky had stolen the software. As soon as Nicky started to speak, the butler fired a shot. The bullet went straight into Nicky's chest. Garia's face turned white. He frantically told the butler, "Money can be earned back. But if I get locked up for murder, my life is over." He immediately fired the butler and fled the warehouse. Jess was crying profusely, but the butler said, "Don't worry. He was actually Nicky's man, and to be honest, I'm his father. His real father." He had deliberately shot him near the heart. He sealed the wound with tape, drained the blood with a needle, and stabilized the air pressure in his chest. Suddenly, Nicky opened his eyes again. He was still alive. This act was a little crazy, but it worked. A pile of money was left behind, and the three of them left the scene. The final twist: Nicky was actually an orphan, and the butler had raised him. He had taught Nicky all these con artistry skills. The rule was never get emotional, but now Nicky was genuinely in love with Jess. The butler dropped them off by a roadside and took all the money with him. Nicky got nothing. But while driving to the hospital, Nicky saw Garia's €200,000 watch on Jess's wrist. They looked at each other and smiled. With this trickery and sleight of hand, they would never go hungry in any corner of the world.